is Johannes Reimer. I grew up in the former Soviet Union in an atheist family. I knew nothing about church. I knew nothing about God. By the way, the Soviet Union was a very atheist country. And then, of course, things happen you'd never expect. So being a small child, was invited one day to join a children's club, selected young people to become future leaders of the country. So at the age of 15, I was already studying at the university, spoke 5 languages, and was encouraged in many different ways to become a future leader of my country. So being at the university and directing a network for Soviet propaganda, for communist propaganda, I was asked to convert 2 Baptists into atheism because somehow, I think they were relatives of our director, and our director loved them. And so I was asked to convert them, my first missionary task, and of course at the end I became a Christian, which speaks negative about my communist missionary abilities. Anyway, I start the conversation with them, and one day the Christians asked me, "Did you ever read the Bible?" I said, "No." "Do you believe in science?" I says, "Yes, I do." "Is it scientific to reject a book and the content of a book simply because you believe it's wrong?" I say, "No. A good scientist has to study a book." "Oh, why do you reject then the Bible?" I say, "Well, it's a fairy tale book." I say, "But you have never seen it." So I decided I'd go and find a book. And I went to a library, and our librarian was very mad at me. She says, "Why are you hunting a Bible?" I said, "Well, I'm hunting the Bible because I want to convert 2 Baptists, 2 Christians into atheism." And then she says, "No, I can't give you the Bible. The Bible is a dangerous book. And it's a poisoned book, so you can't read the Bible." To make the story short, she didn't give me a Bible. I went to a different library and ended up at the end in the office of a secret police officer. He was very mad at me. And he says, "Why are you hunting a Bible?" I say, "Well, I hunt a Bible because I have to convert 2 Christians into atheism." And then he said, "Well, did Karl Marx believe in the Bible?" I say, "Well, no, but did you read the Bible?" I think yes. "Did Vladimir Lenin read the Bible?" I say, "Well, I suppose yes." "Did Friedrich Engels read the Bible?" I say, "Probably." "Did they believe it?" "No." "So do you think you are smarter than them?" I say, "No, I don't think that way, but I'm a scientist. I have to read the book myself." To make the story short, they said no, and you will never get the Bible. And I went to Christians, and the Christians gave me the Bible. And I read that Bible. And I was fascinated. Because everything I was hearing about the New Testament was different with them. I didn't become a Christian yet, but then I went to a monastery one day, and the priest there was also studying physics and mathematics just exactly as me. And he asked me, "What do you do for your scientific project?" And I told him, "Well, I am investigating into cosmic waves because I want to develop an antenna to be able to read those waves and to find out whether people live on different planets." "Oh," he says, "and you don't believe in God?" I say, "No." And then all of a sudden he asks me, "Do you hear voices?" I say, "No." "But Radio Moscow is transmitting a symphony, the 5th Symphony of Shostakovich," who was a composer in Russia. "It's all in the air. And you don't hear it?" I say, "No, but I'm not a radio set. I have no antenna." "Oh," he says, "no antenna, no reality." And then he says, "Well, there are pictures around you, lots of them. And they say, well, I don't see any pictures. But television, Moscow, just transmits a video, a film, a movie, and you don't see it? I say, well, I'm not a television set. Oh, it says, no antenna, no reality. And then he explained to me that my transgressions and my sins, they have killed my human spirit, the spirit of man in me. And that's why I'm not able to have communication with God. It was very plausible. And so I started to search for God. I read the New Testament, and one day I just turned to God. I said, God, I can't hear you. I can't see you. I have no communication with you. But if you exist, then you hear me. Please give me a sign of your existence, and I will do everything possible to follow you. In those years, I was boxing. I was a good boxer, actually. And while I say this, all of a sudden I feel somebody hits me into my right side. So I fell down to the floor. There was no human being in that room. I was not drunk. I was completely okay. And here I was hit, and I laid on the floor. I asked for God to give me a sign, and be sure He gave me one. And then a month back, in a Baptist church, I gave my life to Jesus. And I really experienced His changing power. So He restored my spirit. In this next moment, I knew God exists. And 9 months later, in my country, Christians could not be students of physics and mathematics. 9 months later, I was not at the university any longer. I lost my study place. I lost my career. And I was imprisoned. And I was sitting in a labor camp. It was an interesting story in that labor camp. An officer came to me, and he had the New Testament in his hand. And so he reads Matthew chapter 5, verse 39. And it says there, if somebody slaps you to your left cheek, you turn to that person your right cheek. So he says, do you believe that nonsense? I says, yes, I do believe. I believe everything in the Bible. Oh, he says, we will check on you. Then he invited a small little Muslim and asked the guy to hit out my tooth on my right side. The Muslim was a small boy, and it took him a long time to hit out my first tooth. And every second night, they would call me in, and they would do the same thing. And the officer would tell me, as soon as you say, I do not believe the nonsense, we stop this. Today I have no teeth. My teeth are all artificial. It's not my own teeth on both sides. And the thing was, it wasn't difficult to take the pain. The pain was okay. But in me, there was a hatred coming up. I felt hatred. I couldn't love this little Muslim. I hated the system, and it became a huge problem. And then shortly before Easter, they told me, Johannes, if you are not going to turn your faith away from Christianity, we're going to kill you. And you have just a couple of hours left. So you decide. They gave me free and leisure time, so I went to a quiet corner and I was crying tears, asking the Lord to change my feeling towards Him and give me love. And then the Spirit of God came upon me, and He changed something in me. And I felt love towards every person. And then what happened? In the evening, they called me in again. There was a huge guy, and he approached my face with his big fist. And while the fist was flying into my face, he stopped right here, and he cried, why are you loving me? I didn't particularly love him, but there was no hate in my heart anymore. That experience set me on a journey. And today I'm leading a network for peace and reconciliation, because the love of Christ has filled my heart with the love of Jesus. Thank you for listening to me.